We are back here on SportsLine. We're talking more Titans, and who better to talk Titans with than the beat writer for the Tennessee Titans, for the Tennessean, a good friend of the show and just a good guy all around, Mr. Jim Wyatt. Good evening, Jimmy.
Hey, B, how you doing tonight?
We're doing well. We're doing well. I want to take you back to the game at Baltimore last week. Should fans be encouraged by what we saw out of the offense under Zach Mettenberger the first two drives? Of course, Sean Green fumbling at the 1-yard line, but then they go right back and stick it in the end zone with the shovel pass to Leon Washington. They convert on their first four third downs, and then they go 0 for the rest of the game. Where should a fan come out on this? In terms of this offense under Zach Mettenberger?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be too encouraging because most of the game they spent going nowhere. But I think what it does do is it gives a reason for optimism, and it shows you what they're capable of doing when they're hitting on all cylinders. Now you've got to react better to adjustments, and I think Mettenberger certainly's got to do better, under pressure and getting rid of the football faster. All that stuff will come in time, but those first two drives were a thing of beauty. I mean, he showed off his arm. He was throwing the ball before receivers rather completed with the routes, and it was right on the money. He converted 3 or 4 third downs in a row. The kid's got a little bit of moxie to him already as just a rookie. So he's only going to get better, and he may still go through some growing pains here over the next couple of weeks before he starts settling in. But I think he's got all the tools. It's just going to take some time, and I think certainly I know some people somewhat discouraged that they have not won or they have not been more consistent right out of the gate. But if you look back at Blake Bortles' first 2 starts this year, if you look back at Derek Carr, if you look back at certainly Teddy Bridgewater, Zach Mettenberger's had better QB ratings and really a better overall performance than all those guys over the first 2 starts. He's just going to need more time before he starts to show maybe his real potential.
And, of course, we're talking with Jim Wyatt of the Tennessean here on SportsLine. And, of course, the 5 sacks on Sunday, Jim. We asked Mettenberger about that today after practice, and he was pretty matter-of-fact about it. He said, look, I got to get rid of the football sooner. So I guess it's good to know that a young quarterback at this early stage, only a couple of starts into his career, understands some of the flaws that he has and what he needs to clean up.
Yeah, he does. I mean, certainly you can tell he's one of those guys who probably doesn't like to be questioned on stuff. I mean, he's a football.
Oh, you picked up on that, huh?
Yeah, and I think part of that is because he does work hard at it. He gets in there, studies the film, and certainly I think he knows what's going wrong. I think he's kind of got this attitude that he doesn't like for people to question him about it. I think that's another thing he'll learn is that media maybe not always out to get you, but you got to ask these questions, and you got to get some answers when things aren't going well. But yeah. He does have to get better at that. I think what's interesting about that game is that all 5 sacks came when the Ravens didn't even blitz. The sacks came when they just sent, when they dropped 7 guys and they rushed 4, and maybe he was guilty of not sliding in the pocket, not getting rid of the football like he should have. And then when they blitzed him, it seemed like he knew when to get the ball out. He wasn't real effective on those throws. I think he was maybe 2 of 10 when he did that. But he just got to, when the pressure comes, he's got to slide, got to avoid things, avoid putting them in 2nd and long, 3rd and long with those sacks. And you can't question the kid's toughness because he's definitely willing to stay in there and take a hit.
Yeah, no question about it. But, the running game's got to help him out, Jim. What grade do you give this offensive line so far? I just look at their inability to establish a running game. It's always 2nd and long, 3rd and long. Teams are teeing off. If that happens this week against the Steelers, Dick LeBeau's going to lick his chops against a rookie quarterback if he's facing 2nd and 3rd and long.
Yeah, I mean, I did midseason grades, and I gave offensive line an F. I mean, and part of that's because because of the high expectations, and they haven't lived up to it, and part of it is because they just frankly haven't played very good. I mean, it's hard to find bright spots and where they're playing well. I mean, they're giving up too many sacks. The running game is not playing very well. You've got some high-paid players who are not living up to expectations. So I think they've graded, they're graded the lowest of anybody on the team right now as a unit, and I think it's going to lead to some changes this offseason, and it shouldn't be. I mean, this is supposed to be the strength of this team. They took,
right.
And with that said, I mean, Taylor Lewan, I think, has played well, and I think it was the right pick to get him when they did. That was a move that was questioned a lot, and it was easy to question because they had Michael Roos at the time. But the way that played out, with Roos getting injured, they're sure lucky they took Taylor Lewan because he is just the kind of guy you want on your team. He's a no-nonsense guy. He's not looking to make excuses. He brings a little bit of an attitude, a little bit of swagger to him. And I think this is a locker room that really needs to continue to be reshaped as far as their personality and their mindset. And he's one of those guys that they can be the core for years to come. So while I'm criticizing the offensive line, I'm not criticizing Lewan because even though he hasn't been perfect either, he gave up a sack on Sunday. He's going to be a good player for years to come. But around him, I'm talking about guys like Andy Levitre, who they paid $46.8 million on a long-term contract, and Chance Warmack, who they took in the first round, and Michael Orr, who they gave a 4-year, $20 million deal to. Those guys are not supposed to be struggling. I mean, they're supposed to be the strength of this line, and they have not been. Brian Sweeney, the fourth-round pick a year ago, I don't think he's been a big problem for him. But the first three I named, from Orr, Levitre to Warmack, those guys got to step it up. And it's not going to surprise me at all if two of those guys are not on the team next year.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like Levitre never really recovered from that appendectomy right before training camp. He just doesn't look as strong and as good to go as he did last year, and maybe that's a factor. What do you see out of Warmack? Why do you think Warmack's struggling?
I can't understand it. I mean, Levitre has had his share of injuries. I mean, he was so durable, and sometimes you just have bad luck. He didn't miss a start in Buffalo. He played, every single game. I think 64 games in a row up there, and then he comes here and he has a hip surgery, and has a knee surgery, and has an appendectomy, and his technique got all messed up, and he just hasn't played up to his level of expectation. I mean, he's first to admit that he is not getting it done, and he's struggling with his technique. I can't understand it with Chance Warmack because, I'm not the only one who expected him to be just a perennial Pro Bowler when he entered the league. And everybody told you he was the biggest sure thing of the 2013 draft. He was a can't-miss player, a guy that a lot of people already wanted to put the Hall of Fame jacket on. He wanted to sign him up for it, and it would be a big jacket because he's a big man. But he needs to play better. I can't understand how he's not playing better. I've seen, he's struggled against guys like J.J. Watt. He's struggled against other guys who kind of beat him off the snap. I think his technique is a little bit sloppy. And, again, he's durable. He plays every play. I think it certainly means a lot to him. I think he'll work hard to get it right, but certainly hasn't played up to that 10th overall pick.
Yeah, no question about it. We're talking with Jimmy Wyatt of the Tennessean, talking Titans football. No practice today for Delanie Walker. Took that vicious hit last week in the Baltimore game, suffered a concussion. Obviously, it's the whole thing with the NFL with the protocol, and you have to take a battery of tests, and you have to get cleared to be able to go. Any insight there on whether or not Delanie will be able to practice later in the week?
Well, now, I'll say this. When we first got injured against Baltimore, I was talking to maybe John Glennon at dinner, and I think we both all agreed that there's no way he's going to play against the Steelers in a week because it was such a vicious hit, and he got taken off on a card, and you just don't want to take any chances for something like that. I mean, it looked like he got completely knocked out. Yeah. And I saw him today. I mean, when they're in this concussion protocol, you're not allowed to. You're allowed to talk to him, but you're not allowed to talk to him. He's not supposed to be doing any interviews. But I did see Delanie, in the locker room and just kind of made some small talk with him. And he had a good disposition. He had a smile on his face. He wasn't a guy that was slumping around like he was disoriented or having a bad headaches or was really, really struggling. So, if he can play, he will play. I mean, there's no question. He's one of the tougher guys on the team. You know, he wants to establish a mindset that, you know, you got to work hard, you got to play, and if you're hurt, you got to play. Concussion's a little bit different than dealing with an ankle injury or knee injury or shoulder injury. It's, you know, but you got to be careful with that. We'll see. I mean, it just depends on how quickly he gets cleared. I mean, he may want to play, and the doctor is not clear him to play, just because they're on the side of caution. So we'll have a better idea on him as the week goes on. If he doesn't practice all week, I don't think there's any way he plays. One benefit that he may get is that he gets an extra day because of the Monday night game, because of the way they're structuring the schedule this week. They practice today, they practice tomorrow, they kind of take a day off Friday, and then they're going to be on the field Saturday. So he gets an extra day to recover with that Monday night game. So even if he's out there on Saturday, I think he can play.
Jimmy Wyatt of the Tennessean, our guest here on SportsLine. All right, Monday Night Football coming up, Jimmy. You got the Steelers coming to LP Field. You know there's going to be a lot of fans wearing black and gold, waving those towels. The good thing for the Titans, though, and I think you've noticed this, when the lights go on and it's prime time, the Titans usually play pretty well, and they've matched up pretty well against the Steelers over the last couple of years. Beat them last year, actually beat them the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So give us some hope as to the two-tone blue, putting it together and getting a big win on Monday night.
Well, I think it's trying to find hope. I mean, you got to look at the Steelers too, and the Steelers have been, you know, good enough to beat some good teams, including the Ravens, who Ben Roethlisberger put up 6 touchdowns against, just a couple of weeks ago. He threw 6 against the Colts, and they beat the Colts and Ravens back-to-back weeks where he was just lighting it up. But they've also been bad enough to kind of play down to the level of competition. They lost to the Jets, who are now a 2-win team, and they lost to the Buccaneers. I mean, those are 2 of the worst teams in the league. So it gives a team like the Titans, some hope when the Steelers are, play down to the competition. Man, the Titans I think they're going for maybe their fourth Monday night win in a row. They haven't played on Monday night in a long time, and the last Monday night game was against the Jets. Was not, I guess that was last year. Wasn't exactly a thing of beauty, but they did win. Some good teams, around here have risen to the occasion on Monday night. This is not a very good team. At least it isn't right now. They're due. You can say that about them. I mean, they're due to break out and play better. So maybe Monday night is the night they do it. But it just seems like a tough matchup to me. I mean, the Steelers, I think it's their 4th primetime game. Then, Steelers are going to want to bounce back after losing to the Jets. Roethlisberger throws the ball all over the place. Vic LeBeau against a rookie quarterback. I think Mike Keith with the Titans came up with some kind of crazy stat that he's 18-2 against rookie quarterbacks, since he's been in Pittsburgh. So not a lot of great signs there for the Titans to pull off the upset. But in this league, you just never know. I mean, it's kind of crazy sometimes what happens from one week to the next. And so you never say never. But I certainly wouldn't bet on it if I was a gambling man. So not associated with the media.
Right. Understood. Well, finally, we'll get you out of here on this. I know you're a big Dodger fan. You got to be happy that Kershaw wins the Cy Young.
Yeah, I'm happy he won it. Just, sorry, I know. I think he certainly deserved it. I know he's proud to win it. I mean, he's had such an unbelievable career, but I also know that, just watching him, on a regular basis and knowing what a competitor he is, he could trade that Cy Young in for a World Series championship and some better performance in the postseason. So I'm sure, hopefully he can appreciate winning it, but I'm sure it's even hard for him to do after the way the season ended and, blowing a couple of leads against the Cardinals in the playoffs. He's a heck of a pitcher and had an unbelievable regular season. Talking about guys that are due, when they get back to the playoffs next year, hopefully he'll shut them down like he did during the regular season, and instead of that ugly team in black and orange, the Giants winning, it'll be Dodger blue.
Yankees and Dodgers next year in the series. What do you say? You in?
I'm in for the Dodgers part. Yankees. I can't say I want the Yankees being there next to them. Not that I'm worried about the Yankees. I just don't like the Yankees.
I got you. Well, they're a polarizing figure. You're not a polarizing figure.
I like them better than the Giants. I'll say that.
All right. Fair enough. Well, you're not a polarizing figure, Jimmy. Everybody loves you, and we appreciate you jumping on. And thanks for a few minutes tonight.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right, the great Jimmy Wyatt of the Tennessean giving us a little Titans inside. When we come back, we're going to get the view from enemy lines. Greg Giannotti from Sports Radio 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, my old buddy. We used to work together. We're going to talk a little Steelers and what you can expect from the black and gold Monday night at LP Field. We're back after this.